You are called upon, when you are down, to assume that you are exactly what you want to be. Not down, because you don't want to be that. You want to be as free as the wind. Well, assume that you are. And may I tell you? In a way that no one knows, you become it, but you must persevere. And the word perseverance is true. If I don't believe it, well then 1 second later I've turned back to my former state and become once more Lot's wife, the pillar of salt. Salt is a preservative. In the old days, the only way to preserve something was to salt it. Not so long ago, when I was a little boy, we caught fish. An enormous quantity of fish, because we didn't have these enormous fleets catching our fish. We had fish to bum, literally bum. If they didn't get in before, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, what did they have? They could either put it in the dung heap and make dung out of it, or clean it up and salt it. So they cleaned it up and salted it. It would keep indefinitely, for we had no refrigeration. So, you salted the fish. Now, we could have salt flying fish, if you wanted it that day, but fish that were not consumed by sundown was discarded. Use it for bait the next day, or use it in the dung heap and fertilize the fields with it. So, salt is a preservative. So when Lot's wife was turned to salt, she turned back, and went back to her former state, and that is all that it means. She looked back and became a pillar of salt. You turned back to the state that you said you would leave behind you, and looking back, you were salted, you were preserved in it. So, if you turn away to what you really want to be, turn back, you are going to be salted in it. So, I asked you to leave what you are, unless you like what you are. Just portions of what you are today that you like. All right, wonderful. There are other portions that you do not like. Well, you don't have to give up everything in your living room when you rearrange the structure of it. There are certain pieces that you will keep. You say change its location, but you will keep it. The same is true with the structure of the mind. You keep certain things, and you let other things go. Take friends in your world who are not doing well, and rearrange them in your mind's eye. Where they are doing well, put that part of the structure in your mind's eye. Rearrange the entire structure, and dare to assume that it's true, and walk in that assumption. And that assumption, though at the moment it is denied by reason and denied by your senses, if you persevere in it, it will harden into fact. This is the law of Scripture. He said, I came not to abolish, but to fulfill the Jewish law and the Jewish prophets. For there was no other scripture in the 1st century but the Jewish scriptures. So, the word Jew is not placed before it to qualify it, but it was the only scripture that he knew. He came to fulfill the Jewish law. He reinterpreted the law psychologically and showed them exactly how it's done. So, go out and do not abolish anything. Simply fulfill it. Fulfill the law and fulfill the prophets. The prophets, when they are fulfilled, that is done by sheer grace. That comes by promise, and no one's going to stop it, may I tell you? But you can go on living in a state that you do not wish in this world, but in spite of that, you will still receive the promise, because it isn't given to the one who is rich and denied the one who is poor. But why remain poor and bat your head off morning, noon and night against the inevitable blows in this world,